Candace Owens settled into her seat in the studio, hair perfectly styled, eyes sharp with intent. It was a high-stakes evening segment, the kind that regularly pulled millions of viewers. She knew this was her turf. The topic was America's defense budget, a lightning rod issue in a hyper-polarized landscape, and she was ready to tear into what she called the globalist spending agenda pushed by both parties. The producers had paired her with Senator John Kennedy, a choice she dismissed with confidence. To her, Kennedy was a quirky Southern relic, full of country metaphors and polite jabs, someone she could outmaneuver without breaking a sweat. Asterisk, as the cameras rolled, Owens wasted no time. With force and precision, she launched into a rapid-fire critique of recent legislation that had garnered bipartisan support. She accused both Democrats and establishment Republicans of selling out the American people in favor of foreign defense contractors. Her words were like bullets, fast, sharp, and calculated to provoke. Asterisk, the host nodded along nervously, sensing the intensity spike in the room. But what Candace didn't anticipate was how prepared Senator Kennedy truly was. Appearing via satellite from Washington, D.C., Kennedy sat in a modest office setting, flipping through a thick stack of notes as she spoke. When it was finally his turn, he looked straight into the camera and calmly said, "Now hold on just a second, Miss Owens. You're a fine speaker. But bless your heart, you're not giving the folks the truth they deserve tonight." The studio fell quiet. He leaned in slightly, voice even but piercing. "You claim this defense package was pushed through without accountability? But I've got the committee records right here," he said, holding up a document. "You were quoting from outdated summaries that were revised weeks ago, and you knew that." Asterisk, Candace blinked, lips parting slightly, caught off guard by the specificity. But Kennedy wasn't finished. He flipped a page, quoting a confidential GOP strategy memo. "And if we're talking about truth," he drawled, "this memo from your own party's communications team says your narrative word for word is considered strategically misleading, designed to amplify outrage, not inform debate." The blow landed hard. For the first time, Owens' signature confidence flickered. She began to respond, but her voice lacked its usual edge. She stumbled slightly, trying to reframe her argument, but Kennedy calmly interjected, "Don't worry, brought the receipts," and held up a folder stuffed with corroborating documents. Asterisk, the host shifted uncomfortably in his seat as tension crackled across the screen. Viewers across the country could sense this wasn't the Candace Owens they were used to. This was a version struggling to push back against calm, deliberate truth. The live chat exploded with reactions. Hashtags trended within minutes. And social media lit up with clips of the moment she froze. Asterisk, what was supposed to be a routine debate had morphed into something far more devastating. And the first cracks in Owens' usually unbreakable armor had just been broadcast for the world to see. Backstage, the energy was electric charged, not with excitement, but with tension. Candace Owens, usually the picture of composed aggression, paced behind the curtain during the commercial break. Her phone was glued to her hand, thumbs moving frantically as she messaged her team. Her face was tight, her expression unreadable. The control room was in chaos. Producers debated cutting the segment short, unsure if it was better to let her return or quietly fade her out of the second half. But the call was made. Let it play out. America was watching, and the moment had gone viral within minutes. Asterisk, when the cameras returned from commercial, the Candace who appeared on screen was not the same woman who had opened the segment. She was quieter, more measured, clearly rattled. The high-octane energy she was known for had dimmed. Her hands, usually active when she spoke, now remained still, fingers locked tightly on her lap. She offered a half-hearted pivot, steering the conversation toward broader institutional failures and media bias, but the fire in her voice was gone. Her trademark dominance had slipped. Asterisk, Senator John Kennedy, meanwhile, was a picture of calm. He leaned back slightly in his chair, speaking slowly and plainly exactly the way he always did. But now, every word carried weight. The audience had seen him deliver a political blow without raising his voice. They had watched a man armed only with facts and charm calmly dismantle a media juggernaut. Asterisk, you know. "Miss Owens," Kennedy said at one point, "it's easy to stir up a crowd when you shout, but leadership ain't about volume. It's about honesty, and sometimes honesty hurts." Asterisk, Owens nodded slowly, lips pressed tightly, clearly choosing her words with newfound caution. She tried to deflect by asking Kennedy about his party's past failures, but he didn't bite. Instead, he smiled gently and replied, "Oh, We've made our fair share of mistakes, but tonight, we're talking about you on what you're doing with that microphone. The internet exploded again. Clips flooded Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Some were edited with slow-motion effects and dramatic music, others zoomed in on Candace's face the moment her confidence cracked. Headlines blared, "Kennedy brings facts, Owens brings fire only, one survives the heat." Within hours, the exchange became a trending topic across all major platforms. Political pundits praised Kennedy's performance, calling it a rare moment of accountability on live television. Commentators on both sides of the aisle admitted they hadn't seen Candace Owens lose control of a narrative like that ever. Asterisk, by the end of the segment, the dynamic had completely shifted. Kennedy had become the voice of reason, the unlikely truth-teller who called out spin without theatrics. Owens had become the story not for what she said, but for how she had responded under pressure. Asterisk, later that night, her team released a carefully worded statement, claiming the segment had been ambushed and that Kennedy had been given unfair access to internal documents that should never have been made public, but the public wasn't buying it. They had seen the moment live. They had watched the panic creep into Owens' eyes in real time. Asterisk, in the following days, a noticeable shift took place. Several of Candace's scheduled appearances were either postponed or quietly removed from network listings. Conservative talk shows that normally welcomed her with open arms gave her the cold shoulder. Some speculated she was regrouping, strategizing a comeback. Others whispered that a political recalibration was underway, one that wouldn't be so forgiving the next time. She tried to dominate without backing it up with substance. Asterisk, John Kennedy, on the other hand, experienced a momentary surge in popularity. Clips of his soft-spoken dismantling of Owens were repurposed in fan-made tributes. One TikTok had over 12 million views within 24 hours. Young voters, who rarely paid attention to his speeches, were now quoting him, calling his performance legendary, Grandpa Savage, and unapologetically real. Asterisk, for once, the truth had not been drowned out by volume or charisma, had been delivered with patience and proof. And in an age dominated by hot takes and viral outrage, that made all the difference. Asterisk, Candace Owens had faced many opponents before, but never one who came at her not with rage, but with command facts. That night, live on national TV, she met her unexpected match, and the nation watched as even the loudest voice in the room couldn't shout down the truth.